Hello and welcome back to another Warcraft video. So today I'm going to be covering a Gamescom interview and a few other little bits of news that have came out about Warlords of Draenor, including the raid release schedule. There's actually a lot of good news in this video. You know, maybe the last interview that I covered was pretty negative, let's be honest. This one is pretty darn positive. Though before I get fully into the video, I just want to ask you guys, would you rather have a video like this be on camera or, well, the way this video is now? The benefit of doing this off camera is that I can just record it on my mic with better quality and I can actually have all the information at hand, which should make things a little bit better. I don't know, I just want to throw that question out to you at the top of the video. Anyway, let's get started with the actual news. So first of all, raids. Well, raids are going to open in and around 2.5 weeks after the expansion releases. The way this works is that normal and heroic High Mall will open at, I think, the 2nd and 3rd of December, and then Mythic High Mall will open a week after that, and LFR will also open up at the same time as Mythic. Blackrock Foundry is apparently going to open a few weeks later, according to Tom Chilton, so we are not 100% sure, but I just noticed that on MMO Champion, when I was just doing some extra research in this, they actually added in a little bit of some quote from Watcher, in which he said that 4 weeks between Mogushan Vaults and Heart of Fear was actually too short, so maybe it will be 5 weeks. I'd say we'll actually be getting Blackrock Foundry perhaps in the new year, and that certainly is an interesting way for things to pan out. Alright then, so the other thing that happened is, once again, Grommash came up. I think it was the German interviewer who asked again about Grommash, and you know, the interviewer obviously very much was aware of the fact that a lot of people heard about Grommash yesterday and thought, what the hell, Blizz? More orcs? Really? That's our final boss? And as it turned out, yes, he absolutely is the final boss, i.e. he is the big bad of the expansion, according to Tom Chilton. He is the guy you kill last, that's what he said in the interview. And what Tom said is that when players fight Garrosh, it's going to be completely Grommash, it's going to be completely different from Garrosh, and there are going to be more than just orcs within that raid. He actually said that the Grommash Hellscream raid is going to have a very heavy Burning Legion focus. That has me kind of worried, actually. You see, I didn't really like the way that they kind of forced Garrosh. I mean, I like the whole 5.4 story and all that, but, you know, Garrosh was sort of pumped up in power by an arbitrary thing, what I think would sometimes be referred to as a MacGuffin for, you know, people in the sort of film industry, I guess. You know, the magical MacGuffin, the big secret item which, you know, you'd be screwed without, the kind of contrivance. Well, I've got a feeling that what's going to happen is that Grommash will drink some demon blood, because that's probably the only way that they're going to get Grommash to be a full-on, like, final tier raid boss, because at the end of the day, yeah, he is a badass, but he's not a final tier raid boss, you know, he's just an orc. When you get down to it, and a full raid can kill an orc, we know that already. So, yeah, maybe he will take a bit of a slug of the old demon blood. Now, what I think would probably happen with that is, after 6.0 and the destruction of Blackrock Foundry and, you know, whatever happens to Garrosh, he's probably just going to notice that this whole plan of using the Siegecrafter Black Fuse tech isn't going to work, and maybe he just decides that, yeah, he's going to have a bit of a sip of the blood. I think that really, if it does turn out to be the case, would suck. So if anyone at Blizzard even hears this, they won't, but, you know, don't do that, because it would completely nullify what was so cool about the starting cinematic and the whole just premise of the Iron Horde. It would suck if they just turned into the demon people again. That would be boring. I think a lot of us really expected to, okay, yes, deal with Grommash, but then have some sort of larger problem to encounter or to deal with Gul'dan and the Shadow Council, but it seems like they're going to tie it all up together in one raid, and to me it certainly makes sense that we will have the High Mall raid and the Blackrock Foundry raid being one patch, and then maybe there might only be one other raid patch, and that will be the Burning Legion one, and, you know, the Burning Legion / Grommash one. Yeah, I don't know what to think about all this, though what I will say is that I am very happy about this sizable delay in how long it's going to take for the raids to open. It just means that people can really experience a lot of that outdoor content at their own pace. One of the things that Tom Chilton said is, of course, there is a lot more outdoor content going on, And for an example, challenge modes will be giving you LFR quality gear. I'll talk about that in a minute. And because of all this stuff, you're going to have a lot to do before you jump into raiding, and I think it absolutely makes sense that it is a little bit more than the 1 week we had for Pandaria. Okay, so let's move on to legendary items. Now, he did mention the legendary ring yesterday, but Tom actually mentioned a bit more about the legendary weapon stuff. He said that it's going to come from defeating, you know, either defeating content, doing a sort of Cataclysm-style questline, or maybe even a Burning Crusade-style drop. Basically, he said that it's going to be a more traditional way of getting a legendary, but he didn't say exactly what it is, because they just don't have those plans. In fact, he didn't technically say that there would be another legendary item, he more just said it's very likely that there will be, and we're not 100% sure about how you get it, just that it won't be a MOP legendary quest style thing. I was definitely rather happy to see that, actually. So the next thing I think that Tom talked about, at least the next thing on my notes that I've prepared for myself here, is challenge mode. So he said that there was going to be a daily... Well, actually, Tom didn't say this. Tom said that you're going to get LFR quality gear from challenge modes. I think Watcher then jumped in on Twitter later on to say that what's going to happen is you'll get a daily quest or something like that, which will give you a LFR reward for defeating a challenge mode dungeon. And it doesn't matter what medal you get, and even if you don't get a medal, it's just about defeating it. Now, Tom did talk about what we actually get for the challenge modes. He said that one of the special things we're getting for gold is a transmog weapon. And I've had a look at these transmog weapons before, and I've got to say they look fantastic, so I'm definitely happy to see that. Then I think also what you get is a title for bronze and a mount for silver. And then finally, on the topic of item-related business, the trinkets in Warlords of Draenor are going to be proportionately a little bit more sort of leaning towards on-use trinkets. So things that you might even put in your bars or macro into something and actually use them. I think it's a really good way to handle things. And now he also said that there will be plenty of RPPM trinkets, so I suppose that'll be a thing, but proportionately they will be leaning more on the active style of trinket that you have to click to use. I'm happy enough with that, and hopefully for the players who just like the passive option, there will be enough of the passive trinkets to keep you satisfied. So yeah, that's it. Let's move on to the next topic which caught my interest, and this was the delay. So basically, this was another interview actually with another fan site, but they said that Warlords of Draenor took a decent bit longer to create than they initially thought, and in fact, it was about 6 months more. Now, what's really interesting about that is that if it was 6 months, then that would have placed the original targeted release date at May, which is basically what myself and a lot of other people were predicting soon after BlizzCon and very early in 2014. Obviously, that's not the case, and once again, they just said that one of the main problems here was getting new members on the team up to speed, and it actually took them longer than they thought to get people up to speed, and that really did slow down development, but they also said that a group of people is actually working on the next expansion as we speak, so hopefully there will not be a long gap next time. I think that does make sense. A lot of people will probably say, oh, wait, what? You've already got people working the next expansion? Transfer them onto Warlords now. I know that in a more sort of short-sighted perspective that could make sense, but I think what they're caring about right now is the overall health of the game over, let's just say, the next 5 years. And I think that just starting this process of really having a team solidly working on the next expansion at an earlier date, I just think that's very important, so it's good they're doing that, actually. Okay, let's move on to another topic. We've got garrisons. So this does kind of roll into the idea of all this level 100 outdoor content that we're going to be doing in that space of time before raids open, but after we ding. And Tom Chilton said that a lot of this stuff is going to depend on our garrison building choices. I thought that was interesting enough, actually. And he also said, now this is what I'm a little bit pernickety about, if that's even a word that's applicable, is that there are 4 tiers of missions that your followers can do, and those tiers of missions are based on an item level, like a recommended item level. So if you've got really decked out followers, what you'll be able to do is access this very hard kind of garrison mission, and they will be able to reward raid quality loot, but only once every few weeks. So hopefully that's not too prevalent, but I could still imagine raiders fully committing to the Garrison stuff because they're min-maxing and they want every opportunity to get loot, you know, as is possible. But obviously, the fastest way to get raid loot is still to raid, so I guess it's fair enough, and we'll just have to see exactly how it pans out and how they, you know, balance the timing of it all. Then finally, he actually said something that made me quite happy. The inn is actually going to give you a dungeon daily quest, which is a little bit similar to the stuff that was going on in Wrath of the Lich King. Again, that is great, in my opinion, but I've got to imagine that our choices in terms of garrisons are kind of going to be dictated by what we want to do with our character, and perhaps it's going to be the case, well, maybe I enjoy raiding, fine. Now that means that I get a dwarven bunker, it means I get an inn for that daily quest, it means that I, you know, just get a few things. Maybe that could lead to me not having space for the stables, and I'd like mount speed. I suppose there is certainly a decision to be made there, yes, but, you know, is there just going to be like the default PvP garrison loadout and the default PvE garrison loadout from a min-maxing perspective? I'm not sure, we'll just have to see exactly how it pans out. Once again, they're still working on the garrison feature quite heavily, and it's still being worked on in the beta. Okay, so let's move on to just a few other things. Patch 6.0 is going to be coming out around a month before the release date of Warlords of Draenor, so that's going to be, what, the 13th of October, in and around then, I suppose? Yeah, I mean, I think that's fine. During that month, we'll be able to check out all of our new class stuff. I'll probably try to make a rough guide for as many specs as I can, just to get people up to speed on the changes and any base rotational things that have changed for them. So I'll probably do that, but yeah, expect the pre-patch to come out roughly a month before. And that really is about it. There was one other thing that he talked about, and I think it was the German interviewer again who asked, I think they were both German. It was the male interviewer anyway who asked them about Molten Core and what was going on there. Now, Tom said that Molten Core, in terms of the anniversary edition, or not edition, the anniversary revamp, is not really designed to be highly replayable. Basically, you go in, you get your mount, you're done. But what they really want to do in future is try to find some sort of, you know, reward structure for this idea of scaling on up an old raid. And he actually specifically name-dropped Garrison. He said they were thinking about doing an updated version of Garrison, but Garrison was created as a 10-player raid, and there isn't space for 30, therefore they decided not to. I get the problems with the play space being a bit limiting, but, I mean, really, could they just not say, listen, this one only flexes up to 15 people, it's just because, you know, it's the design of Garrison, and hell, they could even sell the smaller group size as you know, them sticking true to how things were back in the day. Honestly, I don't think that's a decent enough reason for Garrison not to be a thing. Even if it is a 25, 30 player raid guild who would always do these things with their 30 friends, I'm sure they're going to understand that problem and just be happy that Garrison would come back, even if it is only available for 10 or 15 players at once. Yeah, unfortunate, but anyway, hopefully they find a way of getting Garrison back in the game, because, frankly, I would love to do Garrison and have the difficulty actually matter. Anyway, that's it for this video. Do let me know what you thought about the various things that I covered. Definitely an interesting interview, a lot more positive news than what we had in the last interview, so that's certainly nice. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.